The red MAGA hats formed a barricade across Oakwood Heights' main intersection, their wearers laughing as Maya Wilson's car slowed to a stop. When she politely explained she just wanted to get home, the bearded leader leaned into her window. "Your kind doesn't belong here anymore," he sneered, his companions closing ranks while police officers deliberately looked away. What the man failed to notice was how Maya's eyes methodically catalogued their positions, how her breathing remained combat steady, with the practiced calm of someone who had faced far worse threats. 8 years as an Army Ranger in Afghanistan had taught Maya Wilson how to survive impossible situations, and her brother, the Navy SEAL, whose call she was about to make, had taught her something else. Sometimes justice required equal force. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Maya Wilson turned down the volume on NPR as she steered her Honda Civic into Oakwood Heights. After a long shift at the VA hospital, the familiar streets of her neighborhood usually brought comfort. Today, something felt off. 3 blocks from her apartment, traffic slowed to a crawl. Cars ahead were turning around. "What now?" she muttered, drumming fingers against the steering wheel. She rolled down her window as an elderly neighbor walked past her car. "Mrs. Jackson, what's happening up there?" The woman's face tightened. "Those people again, blocking the intersection at Malcolm and Pine. Been there since noon, getting worse." Maya nodded her thanks and eased forward. Over the past month, she'd heard about these demonstrations, men in red hats blocking streets, harassing residents. Always in predominantly black neighborhoods, never anywhere else. As she rounded the corner, the scene came into view. At least 15 white men had formed a line across the intersection, red MAGA hats visible even from this distance. They held signs with slogans about taking back the neighborhood. Behind them stood 3 police officers, chatting casually. Maya's phone buzzed. Derek's name flashed on the screen. She let it go to voicemail. Her brother worried too much since she'd returned from Afghanistan. She took a deep breath, the way she'd been trained. Assess the situation. Identify exits. Calculate risks. 3 years as an Army Ranger had hardwired these instincts. Maya inched her car forward, joining the small line of vehicles trying to navigate around the blockade. One of the men pointed at her car. "Here comes another one." As she approached, they closed ranks. A tall man with a beard stepped directly in front of her car, forcing her to brake. "Streets closed today," he called, smirking through the windshield. Maya rolled down her window. "I live here. I'm just trying to get home." "Should have picked a better neighborhood," another man said, younger with a buzz cut. The others laughed. She kept her voice even. "Look, I've had a long day. I'm a physical therapist at the VA hospital. I work with veterans. I'm just trying to get to my apartment." The bearded man leaned down, peering into her car. His breath smelled of beer. "You people always have excuses. This street belongs to everyone, and today we're exercising our rights." Maya's hand tightened on the steering wheel. She noticed the police officers still talking among themselves, deliberately ignoring the situation. "Please move," she said. "You're blocking a public road." "Free country," said Buzzcut, moving closer. "We can stand wherever we want." A memory flashed. A checkpoint in Kandahar, a crowd growing hostile. Maya pushed it away. This was different. This was home. "What's the problem here?" A new voice joined in as a heavy-set man with a ruddy face approached. He wore no hat, but carried himself like someone in charge. "Having trouble understanding English?" "I understand perfectly," Maya replied, her patience thinning. "You're illegally blocking traffic. The police should be arresting you, not protecting you." The man's fake smile vanished. "Listen, lady." "No, you listen," Maya said, opening her car door. Something in her had snapped. She stepped out, standing at her full height. The men seemed momentarily surprised by her confidence. "This is my neighborhood. I served this country for 8 years, 3 tours in Afghanistan as an Army Ranger. I didn't do that so you could harass people on their way home." From the corner of her eye, Maya saw one of the police officers finally look in her direction, then deliberately turn away. The group leader stepped closer. "Playing the veteran card? Bet that's as fake as everything else about you." Maya felt a familiar calm settling over her, the kind that came before operations. Her senses sharpened. She noted positions, stances, potential weapons. 15 to 1. Bad odds. But she'd faced worse. "Step back from my vehicle," she said quietly. "Or what?" the man challenged, knocking on her hood. "You gonna make us?" "Hey, boys, she's gonna make us." Laughter rippled through the group. From the group's perspective, the woman before them didn't match their expectations. She stood straight, unintimidated. Her eyes scanned them systematically, calculating. It unsettled them slightly, though none would admit it. "Last chance," Maya said. "Let me through." The bearded man shoved her shoulder. "Go around if you're smart." Maya didn't budge. "Touch me again, and you'll regret it." "Is that a threat?" The leader's voice rose. "Officers, this woman is threatening us." One policeman finally strolled over, looking bored. "What's the problem here?" "No problem," Maya said, maintaining eye contact with the leader. "These gentlemen were just moving to let traffic through." "Actually," the leader said, "this hostile individual was threatening peaceful protesters. We're exercising our First Amendment rights." The officer looked at Maya with thinly veiled contempt. "Ma'am, you need to return to your vehicle and find another route." "They're blocking a public street," Maya insisted. "That's not legal protest." "I'm not going to tell you again," the officer said. "Get back in your car, or I'll have to take action." Maya recognized the futility. She'd faced this kind of arbitrary power before, overseas and at home. She turned to get back in her car when the bearded man muttered something under his breath. "What did you just say?" she asked, stopping. He grinned, repeating the slur louder. Something cold and familiar settled in Maya's stomach. Not fear, clarity. The world slowed down as her training took over. "Wrong move," she whispered. When the bearded man reached for Maya's arm, muscle memory took over. She pivoted, using his momentum to throw him off balance. He stumbled backward, surprise flashing across his face before anger replaced it. "You crazy!" He lunged forward. Maya sidestepped, her movements precise. "Don't!" The protest leader stepped between them. "So, that's how it's gonna be?" His voice carried across the intersection, drawing the others closer. "Boys, looks like we got ourselves a troublemaker." The circle tightened around her. Maya's car now felt miles away. She reached for her phone in her back pocket, keeping her eyes on the men surrounding her. "Back off," she warned, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. "I don't want trouble." "Should have thought about that before you put hands on my friend," the leader said, inching closer. The policeman who had approached earlier watched from a distance, making no move to intervene. 2 more officers joined him, their postures casual, amused. "I'm calling my brother," Maya said, holding up her phone. She hit Derek's number, putting it on speaker. "Hey, sis, I was just—" Derek's voice came through. "I'm at Malcolm and Pine," she interrupted, her voice controlled but urgent. "There's a situation." The bearded man lunged forward, knocking the phone from her hand. It clattered to the pavement, screen cracking on impact. "Oops," he said with mock innocence. "Maya! Maya!" Derek's voice called out faintly from the broken phone. That's when the first punch came. Maya blocked it instinctively, years of combat training kicking in. She countered, connecting with Buzzcut's solar plexus. He doubled over, gasping. "She hit me!" he wheezed theatrically. "Did you see that?" Maya backed up, creating space. but the circle had closed. Another man grabbed her from behind. She stomped on his instep, twisted, and broke his hold. Two more rushed her. "Officers!" she shouted. "I'm being assaulted!" The police continued watching, one of them shaking his head slightly. Maya fought with controlled precision, protecting herself without excessive force. These weren't insurgents, they were civilians, misguided, hateful, but civilians nonetheless. She couldn't use the full extent of her training, and they knew it. A blow caught her temple. Another struck her ribs. She staggered but remained standing, blocking what she could. Blood trickled from her eyebrow. "That's enough!" A new voice cut through the chaos. The crowd parted slightly as a Hispanic officer pushed through. Officer James Rodriguez surveyed the scene, his face unreadable. "Break it up now," he ordered. The leader smirked. "Officer, this woman assaulted several peaceful protesters. We were simply defending ourselves." Rodriguez looked at Maya, noting her stance, her measured breathing despite her injuries. Recognition flickered in his eyes, not of her specifically, but of what she was. He'd seen enough veterans to know. "Everyone back up," Rodriguez commanded. He turned to Maya. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Before she could answer, the protest leader stepped forward. "She started this whole thing, Rodriguez. Ask Peterson. He saw it." The first officer nodded confirmation. "Woman was hostile from the start, James. Threatened these gentlemen, then got physical." Rodriguez's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I'll handle this." He turned to Maya. "I'm calling an ambulance." "I don't need—" Maya began. "You're bleeding," Rodriguez interrupted. "Protocol." From across the street, Rodriguez observed more than he let on. The woman's defensive stance, her restraint in the fight. This wasn't some random troublemaker. The protesters were regulars, showing up in different neighborhoods, always with the same result: confrontation, followed by selective enforcement. He'd voiced concerns to Chief Brooks once and been reassigned to desk duty for a month. Now he kept his head down, did his job, collected evidence silently. "Your name, ma'am?" Rodriguez asked, pulling out a notepad. "Maya Wilson," she answered, dabbing at her bloodied eyebrow. "I want to press charges." Laughter erupted from the group of men. The leader stepped forward confidently. "For what? You attacked us. We have witnesses." He gestured to the other officers who nodded agreement. "That's not what happened," Maya insisted, her voice sharp with controlled fury. Rodriguez studied her for a moment. "Ms. Wilson, the ambulance will take you to county. Once you're treated, come down to the station to file a report." "What about them?" She gestured to the group, now back to blocking the road, emboldened. "We'll take statements here," Rodriguez said, his tone neutral but his eyes conveying something else. The ambulance arrived minutes later. As paramedics attended to Maya, the protesters resumed their chanting, louder now, energized by their victory. Rodriguez handed Maya a business card as she was helped onto a stretcher. "Direct line," he said quietly, "when you're ready to make that statement." Maya tucked the card away, saying nothing. Through the ambulance doors, she watched the scene grow smaller. The red hats, the laughing officers, Rodriguez standing apart. Her phone was still on the pavement, broken. Derek would be worried sick. The pain in her ribs sharpened with each breath. But something else burned hotter. The absolute certainty that this wasn't over. At the intersection, Rodriguez watched the ambulance pull away. He turned back to the group of men who were already celebrating, sharing fist bumps with Officers Peterson and Diaz. "Nice work handling that one, Rodriguez," Peterson called out. "See? No need to make a big deal." Rodriguez nodded non-committally and walked back to his patrol car. In his pocket, his personal phone recorded everything: conversations, laughter, the casual conspiracy of silence. One more piece of evidence for a file that was growing too large to ignore. Behind the wheel, He glanced at the name he'd written in his notepad. Maya Wilson. He'd run it later, off the official system. Something told him this woman wasn't going to disappear quietly like the others. Derek Wilson burst through the emergency room doors, scanning faces frantically until he spotted a nurse at the intake desk. "Maya Wilson," he said, his voice tight with controlled panic. "My sister was brought in about an hour ago." The nurse typed on her keyboard. "Relation?" "Brother. I'm her emergency contact. She's in Bay 3. Doctor's with her now." Derek found Maya sitting on an exam table as a doctor finished placing butterfly bandages on her eyebrow. Dark bruises had already formed along her jawline. "Maya!" He rushed forward, stopping short when he saw the extent of her injuries. "What the hell happened?" The doctor glanced between them. 3 bruised ribs, laceration above the eye, multiple contusions. "She's lucky nothing's broken." He turned to Maya. "I'll get your discharge papers ready. Remember, rest and ice." Once the doctor left, Derek pulled up a chair. "I got to Malcolm and Pine, but all I saw were cops cleaning up. No ambulance, no you." His voice cracked slightly. "When your call cut off like that—" "I'm okay," Maya interrupted, though her wince as she shifted betrayed the lie. "Who did this?" Maya's eyes hardened. "A group of those MAGA protesters, blocking the road in front of the neighborhood. When I tried to get through, they surrounded my car. And the police? Watched. Laughed." She touched her bandaged eyebrow. "Except one. Rodriguez. Seemed different." Derek's military training was evident in how he processed the information. Efficient, strategic, compartmentalizing emotion. 8 years as a Navy SEAL had taught him to channel anger into action. "Did you get names? Faces? Better." Maya handed him Rodriguez's card. "This officer gave me his direct line. Said to call when I'm ready to make a statement." Derek examined the card. "You trust him?" "Not yet, but he's the only one who stepped in." Maya lowered her voice. "This wasn't random, Derek. These guys were organized, protected. The cops knew them by name. Something unspoken passed between the siblings, recognition of a threat that went beyond a single incident. "My car's still there," Maya added. "Phone's smashed on the pavement." "I'll handle it," Derek said. "Stay here until I get back." "Not a chance." Maya slid carefully off the exam table. "We do this together." By the time they reached Malcolm and Pine in Derek's truck, the protesters were gone. Only scraps of signs and empty beer cans remained. Maya's Civic sat alone, a parking ticket on the windshield. "Unbelievable," Derek muttered, plucking the ticket. Maya scanned the area with a soldier's eye. Sight lines, cameras, witnesses. The convenience store might have footage. Inside the store, the elderly Korean owner recognized Maya immediately. "I called police when I saw them attack you," he said, shaking his head. "They come, do nothing." "Did your security cameras catch anything?" Derek asked. The man nodded, leading them to a back office where multiple screens showed different angles of the store and street. "I save footage. Not first time these men caused trouble." They watched the attack in silent fury. The footage clearly showed Maya defending herself, the men attacking, the officers standing by. "Can you make us a copy?" Maya asked. "Already did." The owner handed her a flash drive. "Been giving copies to everyone they hurt. Nobody does anything." "We will," Derek promised. That night in Maya's apartment, they reviewed the footage again. Derek paused on clear shots of faces, taking screenshots. "I know that one," Maya said, pointing to the bearded man. "Called himself Mike, and that's the leader. Never got his name." Derek's expression was focused, methodical. "We should run surveillance before you make that statement to Rodriguez. Figure out who these guys are, what we're dealing with." "Agreed." Maya opened her laptop. "They mentioned something about meeting at the usual spot next Thursday. You heard that while they were beating you?" Derek raised an eyebrow. Maya gave him a ghost of a smile. Ranger training. You know how it is. The siblings fell into comfortable silence, working in tandem like they'd done during countless childhood projects. Maya pulled up social media pages of local political groups, while Derek mapped recent protest incidents. Look at this, Derek said eventually. These protests have been happening for 6 weeks. Always in predominantly black or Hispanic neighborhoods. Always on main access roads. Maya leaned over to see his map. They're not random. There's a pattern here. Like someone's testing response times or building tension in specific areas. Maya sat back, wincing as her ribs protested. The question is, why? What's the end game? Derek's eyes narrowed. Remember what Dad used to say about division tactics? When people are fighting each other, they don't notice who's picking their pockets, Maya quoted. Exactly. So who benefits from racial tension in these specific neighborhoods? They worked through the night, piecing together information from news reports, social media, and community forums. By morning, they had identified several of the protesters through public profiles and compiled a list of locations where similar incidents had occurred. We need more, Maya said, rubbing her tired eyes. Inside information. Derek nodded toward Rodriguez's card on the table. Think he's really different from the others? Only one way to find out. Maya picked up her new phone. But first, I think we should attend this meeting on Thursday. See who shows up, what they're planning. Recon only, Derek cautioned. No engagement. Agreed. We gather intel, then decide our next move. Maya's expression hardened. These guys thought they picked an easy target. They have no idea who they're dealing with. Derek studied his sister, the determined set of her jaw, the tactical mindset already mapping out scenarios. Despite his concern, pride swelled in his chest. Maya had always been the strategist of the family, seeing 3 moves ahead while he preferred direct action. I've got 2 more weeks of leave, he said. Let's make them count. Maya nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. This wasn't just about one afternoon or one group of men. Something larger was happening in their community, something systematic, and they were uniquely equipped to uncover it. Like old times, Maya said softly, you and me against the world. Except this time, Derek added, we're bringing the fight to them. 1 week later, Maya's Civic rolled to a stop half a block from the Malcolm and Pine intersection. The bruises on her face had faded to yellowish smudges, but her ribs still ached with each deep breath. They're back, Derek said from the passenger seat, lowering his binoculars. Same spot, same setup. I count 12. Maya nodded, scanning the crowd. I see Mike with the beard. The leader's there, too. You sure about this? Derek checked his watch. We could just stick to the original plan. Hit their meeting tomorrow. I'm sure. Maya's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. They need to know they picked the wrong neighborhood. They exited the car simultaneously, moving with the synchronized precision of soldiers. Maya wore a fitted jacket that concealed her bandaged ribs. Derek walked slightly behind her, watchful but relaxed. Both carried themselves with the unmistakable bearing of combat veterans, alert, measured, dangerous. As they approached, Mike was the first to spot them. He nudged the leader, whose eyes widened briefly before his face settled into a smirk. Well, look who's back for more, he called out. Didn't learn your lesson the first time? Maya stopped at a calculated distance. Actually, I came to teach one. Laughter rippled through the group. They began to circle, confident in their numbers, emboldened by past success. Where are your police friends? Derek asked casually. The leader sized up Derek, recognizing a threat. Who's this? Boyfriend come to defend your honor? Brother, Maya corrected. Navy SEAL. I mentioned I was a ranger, right? Must have slipped my mind during our last chat. Uncertainty flickered across several faces. The leader maintained his bravado. Military, huh? Impressive. Still outnumbered, though. Want to bet? Derek's smile didn't reach his eyes. What happened next unfolded with choreographed precision. When Mike lunged at Maya, she sidestepped, using his momentum to send him sprawling. Simultaneously, Derek blocked a punch from another protester, twisting the man's arm behind his back with practiced ease. Maya and Derek moved like dancers sharing an unspoken rhythm. Efficient, controlled, devastating. They used their attacker's aggression against them, creating chaos within the group as bodies collided with each other. What the hell? The leader backed away, watching his advantage disintegrate. Get them! Two more rushed forward. Maya dropped one with a sweep to the legs, while Derek neutralized the other with a precise strike to the solar plexus. Neither sibling threw unnecessary punches or used excessive force. They simply redirected attacks and exploited weaknesses with clinical detachment. From a police cruiser parked at the corner, Chief Warren Brooks watched the scene unfold with mounting anger. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Wilson woman was supposed to stay away after the first incident. Now she was back with reinforcements, disrupting his carefully orchestrated plan. He grabbed his radio. All units, disturbance at Malcolm and Pine. Priority response. Back at the intersection, the remaining protesters hesitated, watching their comrades struggling to stand. Not so tough without your audience, are you? Maya addressed the leader directly. You're dead, he spat. You have no idea who you're messing with. Enlighten me, she challenged. Instead of answering, he reached into his jacket. Derek moved instantly, twisting the man's wrist until a small canister of pepper spray clattered to the ground. Bad idea, Derek said quietly. The wail of approaching sirens cut through the standoff. 3 police cars screeched to a halt at the intersection, including Chief Brooks's vehicle. On the ground! Everybody down! Brooks shouted, hand on his holster. Chief! Officer Rodriguez emerged from one of the cruisers, taking in the scene. What's happening here? These 2 assaulted peaceful demonstrators, Brooks said, pointing at Maya and Derek. Arrest them! Rodriguez hesitated, eyes flicking between Maya and the protesters, several of whom were still on the ground. Chief, I think we should get statements from everyone involved. The body cam footage— That's an order, Rodriguez, Brooks snapped. As officers moved to separate everyone, Rodriguez passed close to Maya. Walk away, he murmured. Now, I'll stall. Maya caught Derek's eye. A subtle nod passed between them. They backed away slowly as Brooks berated Rodriguez. The leader, seeing his chance, snatched his fallen backpack. Papers spilled out, maps, meeting locations, typed instructions. Maya swiftly kicked a folder toward Derek, who scooped it up as they retreated. This isn't over, the leader shouted after them. You're right, Maya called back. It's just beginning. They were in the Civic and moving before Brooks could redirect his officers. In the rearview mirror, Maya watched Rodriguez deliberately taking his time collecting statements, keeping Brooks occupied. We got lucky, Derek said, examining the papers they'd secured. Not luck, Maya corrected. Alliance. Rodriguez is on our side. Question is, Derek mused, why? He held up a document with an official letterhead. And why does a street protester have documents from Senator Whitman's office? The basement of Derek's apartment building offered perfect privacy for examining their unexpected intelligence haul. The siblings spread the documents across a folding table, both standing to ease Maya's still tender ribs. These are organized by neighborhood, Maya said, arranging maps with highlighted routes and timing schedules. Look, each protest location corresponds to specific community demographics. Derek examined a document with the state seal. And here's the interesting part. They're all slated for infrastructure projects, road improvements, community centers, economic development zones. Why would protesters care about infrastructure projects? Maya wondered. Maybe they don't. Derek tapped a memo on Senator Whitman's letterhead. But someone does. The memo outlined community engagement strategies for areas with planned development, with phrases like manage local resistance and secure necessary delays. Next to it lay a list of shell companies associated with campaign donors. They're creating chaos to stall these projects, Maya realized. But why? Derek's eyes narrowed. Follow the money. Delay public projects long enough, property values drop. Someone swoops in to buy cheap, then miraculously the projects resume. And who controls which projects get approved or delayed? Maya asked. They answered in unison. Senator Whitman. A knock at the basement door made them both tense. Maya moved to a defensive position while Derek approached the door cautiously. Wilson? A familiar voice called softly. Derek opened the door to find Officer Rodriguez standing there, alone and in civilian clothes. How did you find us? Maya demanded. I'm a cop. It's what I do. Rodriguez stepped inside, noticing their defensive postures. I'm not here to cause trouble. Then why are you here? Derek remained between Rodriguez and Maya. Because what happened to you wasn't right. Rodriguez's professional facade cracked, revealing genuine anger. It wasn't the first time either. I've watched this happen for months. Targeted harassment in specific neighborhoods, selective enforcement, reports mysteriously disappearing. Maya studied him. Why do you care? Because I became a cop to protect people, not terrorize them. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. My partner and I responded to 3 incidents before yours. Each time, Chief Brooks overrode our reports, classified them as community disputes. When I pushed back, I got desk duty for a month. Derek and Maya exchanged glances. Maya nodded slightly. We found these, Derek said, gesturing to the documents. Rodriguez whistled softly as he scanned the material. This connects to something bigger than street harassment. He picked up the memo. Senator Whitman chairs the State Infrastructure Committee. His biggest donor, Maxwell Development, has been buying properties around these exact neighborhoods. How do you know that? Maya asked. Because I've been building my own case. Rodriguez pulled out his phone, showing them a folder of photos, recordings, and property records. Started 6 months ago when the protests began appearing. Something felt off. Same faces, different neighborhoods, always with police protection. Maya's tactical mind clicked pieces into place. They're creating division to manipulate property markets. Racial tension is just their tool. And Chief Brooks? Derek asked. Rodriguez's expression darkened. Brooks and Whitman go way back. College roommates. Brooks ensures the protests cause maximum disruption without any legal consequences for the participants. But why the focus on minority neighborhoods? Maya pressed. Because they're counting on people not caring, Rodriguez answered bitterly. Complaints from these communities get buried. Media covers it as racial tensions rather than organized harassment. Derek leaned forward. We need more concrete evidence connecting Whitman to these protesters. That's why I'm here. Rodriguez looked between them. Yesterday, after you left, the leader, his name is Eric Daniels, by the way, had a private conversation with Brooks. I managed to record it. He played the audio. Brooks' voice came through clearly. Whitman's not happy with today's outcome. The meeting at Carson's pub tomorrow night is still on. He'll have new instructions. Carson's pub. Maya's eyes lit with recognition. That was mentioned in the documents. It's a dive bar downtown, Rodriguez confirmed, closed to the public on Thursdays for a private event. We need to get inside that meeting, Derek stated. Get direct evidence of Whitman's involvement. Rodriguez hesitated. It's risky. After today, they'll be on high alert. They won't recognize me, Maya said confidently. I'll wear a disguise, plant a recording device. I don't like it, Derek objected. You're still injured, and after today, they might be looking for us. Which is why I'll go in first, Rodriguez suggested. I can pose as an officer sympathetic to their cause. Brooks doesn't know I'm onto him yet. The three looked at each other, recognizing the formation of an unlikely alliance. Why trust us? Maya asked finally. You're risking your career, maybe worse. Rodriguez's face hardened. Because my father came to this country believing in justice. What's happening now? That's not justice. That's corruption wearing a flag pin. Derek extended his hand. Welcome to the team, officer. James, he corrected, shaking Derek's hand. If we're going to take down a state senator and a police chief, we should be on a first-name basis. Carson's pub sat in a commercial district that emptied after business hours. From their surveillance position in a parked van across the street, Maya and Derek watched James Rodriguez approach the bar's entrance. He wore plain clothes, but carried himself with unmistakable police authority. I don't like this, Maya muttered, adjusting the earpiece connected to the microphone hidden in Rodriguez's watch. Too many unknowns. He'll be fine, Derek assured her, though his tense posture betrayed his own concern. Brooks doesn't suspect him yet. Inside the pub, Rodriguez found himself in a back room where about 20 men gathered. He recognized protest regulars, several off-duty officers, and Eric Daniels holding court at the center. The atmosphere pulsed with expectation. Rodriguez? Daniels raised an eyebrow. Didn't expect to see you here. James shrugged casually. Figured I should see what this is all about. That Wilson woman and her brother made me look bad today. Daniels studied him suspiciously. Brooks didn't mention you were joining. Brooks doesn't control my off hours, Rodriguez countered, with calculated irritation. After a tense moment, Daniels gestured to an empty chair. Welcome to the real Community Improvement Committee. In the van, Maya and Derek exchanged glances as audio transmitted clearly through their earpieces. He's in, Derek whispered. The meeting began with complaints about the day's confrontation, with Daniels describing Maya and Derek as military types causing trouble. Rodriguez sat silently, mentally cataloging names and connections, as Daniels outlined new protest locations. Before we continue, Daniels announced, the senator wants to address recent developments. A laptop was opened, revealing Senator Thomas Whitman on a video call. His silver hair and tailored suit projected authority even through the screen. Gentlemen, Whitman began, today's incident is concerning. We can't afford complications with the Westridge acquisition timeline. In the van, Maya quickly typed the name into her laptop. Westridge. That's the community center project for Oakwood Heights, she whispered to Derek. Whitman continued, the zoning board votes next month. We need these neighborhoods destabilized enough to justify security concerns, which means the protests continue, but with more caution. No more confrontations with residents who fight back. Sir, Daniels responded, what about the Wilson woman and her brother? Whitman's expression hardened. Chief Brooks is handling them. Focus on your assignments. The call ended abruptly. As the meeting continued, Rodriguez carefully memorized details of planned provocations. When he finally left an hour later, he maintained a casual pace until reaching the van. We've got a problem, he said once inside. Chief Brooks was watching me all evening from the bar. He never came into the meeting, but he didn't take his eyes off me. Maya frowned. You think he suspects? Not sure, but we should assume he does. The following morning, Rodriguez arrived at the precinct to find Chief Brooks waiting at his desk. My office? Now? Brooks' tone left no room for argument. Inside the office, Brooks leaned against his desk. Interesting choice of watering hole last night, Rodriguez. James kept his expression neutral. Just checking out a new place. Cut the crap. Brooks tossed a folder onto the desk. You've been accessing files on the Oakwood Heights incidents without authorization. contacting witnesses independently. Just being thorough, Chief. You're being reassigned. Effective immediately. Traffic division. Night shift. On what grounds? Rodriguez demanded. Brooks smiled coldly. Insubordination. Consider yourself lucky, that's all it is. For now. Across town, Maya opened her apartment door to find two men in suits waiting in the hallway. Ms. Wilson, we're from hospital administration. The taller one flashed an ID too quickly to read. We need to discuss irregularities in your employment paperwork. Maya immediately recognized the threat. My paperwork is fine. Contact HR if you have questions. That won't be necessary if you cooperate. His hand shifted slightly, revealing a holster beneath his jacket. We understand you've been asking questions about Senator Whitman. Maya's combat instincts flared. I think you have the wrong person. We don't make mistakes, Ms. Wilson. His smile never reached his eyes. Like your service record. Army Ranger, honorable discharge, security clearance. It would be unfortunate if discrepancies appeared. Are you threatening me? Just delivering friendly advice. Some fights aren't worth picking. After they left, Maya immediately called Derek, only to hear distress in his voice. They're targeting me too, he said. Just got notice questioning my leave status. Commanding officer wants me back immediately for administrative review. This is coordinated, Maya concluded. They're trying to separate us. That evening, the three allies met in Derek's basement, a newfound urgency driving their planning. They've got resources, connections, Rodriguez explained, running a bug detector around the room. Whitman's not just a senator. He chairs 3 committees, controls millions in state contracts. And he's scared, Maya added. Which means we're onto something bigger than neighborhood harassment. Rodriguez's detector suddenly beeped near a light fixture. He removed a small listening device. They're watching us, Derek said grimly. All of us. Maya stared at the tiny bug. Then we need to move faster than they expect. Tomorrow night, we follow the money. Find out what Westridge really is. The stakes were clear now. They weren't just fighting street-level harassers. They were challenging power itself. James Rodriguez sat in his patrol car, watching traffic flow through an empty intersection at 2 a.m. Traffic duty. The department's version of Siberia. His phone vibrated. His wife, Lucia, again. 4th call tonight. He couldn't bring himself to answer, to hear the worry in her voice. 3 days into his reassignment, the isolation was exactly as Brooks had intended. Other officers avoided him, rumors spreading about his disciplinary problems. Even partners he'd known for years kept their distance, sensing the chief's disapproval. When his shift finally ended, Rodriguez sat in the precinct parking lot, staring at the building that had once represented everything good in his life. 20 years on the force. A career built on principle. His phone rang again. This time, he answered. James? Lucia's voice was tight with concern. Are you coming home? Just finished shift, he replied. Be there soon. Someone was watching the house today. A black SUV parked across the street for hours. Rodriguez's stomach tightened. Did you see who was inside? No, but Miguel noticed it when he came home from school. Her voice dropped. James, what's going on? Miguel keeps asking why you're working nights suddenly. He closed his eyes, the weight of his choices pressing down. I'll explain everything. Just keep the doors locked. At home, after ensuring Lucia and their teenage son were asleep, Rodriguez opened his laptop. The encrypted file contained everything he'd gathered on Brooks, Whitman, and the coordinated harassment campaign. Evidence that could end his career, or worse. His son's framed police academy acceptance letter hung on the wall. Miguel was set to start next fall, following his father's footsteps. Pride and dread battled in Rodriguez's chest. He reached for his phone. Across town, Maya jerked awake at the sound of breaking glass. She moved silently from her bed, retrieving the handgun from her nightstand. Every nerve firing, she cleared her apartment room by room. In the kitchen, she found the source, a brick through her window. Wrapped around it was a printed photo of her leaving the VA hospital, crosshairs superimposed over her face. Her phone rang. "Derek, they hit you too?" she asked immediately. "Just found my car windshield smashed. Message painted on the door. Deserters die." Maya's jaw tightened. "They're escalating. We need to pull back," Derek said, uncharacteristic uncertainty in his voice. "These people have real reach." My CO called again. "Someone's pushing hard for me to return to base immediately." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we need to be smart. We're outnumbered, outgunned." "Since when has that stopped us?" Maya demanded. "Since it's not just us in the crosshairs." Derek's voice dropped. "Rodriguez has a family, Maya. And you've got your patients at the VA. People who need you." The silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken fears and principles in conflict. "I can't walk away," Maya finally said. "Not from this." "I'm not saying walk away. I'm saying we need to change tactics. Be smarter than them." Her doorbell rang, startling her. "Someone's here. I'll call you back." Gun still in hand, Maya checked the peephole to find Rodriguez standing in her hallway, looking exhausted. "Sorry for the late hour," he said when she opened the door. "But I've made a decision." He placed a flash drive on her kitchen counter. "Everything I have on Brooks, Whitman, and the police union's involvement. Bank records showing payments to protest organizers. Evidence of selective enforcement in targeted neighborhoods. Why are you giving me this?" "Because they threatened my son today." His voice cracked slightly. "A warning from the Academy Admissions Board about character evaluations. He's worked his whole life for this." Maya understood immediately. "They're making you choose." "I'm still helping," Rodriguez insisted. "But I need to create distance, make them think I've backed off. While we continue pushing." He nodded. "The flash drive includes something important. Financial records for the Westridge Community Development Fund. It's a shell company that's purchased properties in all the targeted neighborhoods. Guess who's the primary beneficiary? Whitman? His wife's family trust. They're using these protests to drive down property values, buy cheap, then flip when the development projects resume." The implications were staggering. Millions in profits through manufactured racial tension and fear. "There's more," Rodriguez continued. "The police union pension fund is invested in the same trust. That's why so many officers are complicit. Their retirement depends on it." Maya absorbed this, understanding Rodriguez's impossible position. "What will you tell Brooks?" "That I've reconsidered my priorities." Shame flickered across his face. "I hate this, but my family—" "You don't have to explain," Maya said firmly. "We'll find another way." As Rodriguez left, Maya stared at the flash drive. The mission had changed. It wasn't just about street harassment anymore. It was about exposing corruption that had infected every level of power in their city. Her phone buzzed with a text from Derek. "Whatever we do next, we do together." Maya touched the brick still sitting on her counter, fingers tracing the crosshairs over her face. They had meant to intimidate her. Instead, they had only crystallized her resolve. "Sir, we have a situation." Chief Brooks stood in Senator Whitman's wood-paneled office, his usual confidence noticeably diminished. Senator Whitman looked up from his desk, irritation flashing across his carefully maintained public face. "I'm preparing for a committee meeting, Brooks. This better be important. The Wilson woman hasn't backed off. Neither has her brother." Brooks placed a folder on the desk. "And despite our warnings, they've been gathering evidence." Whitman flipped through surveillance photos showing Maya and Derek meeting with various community members. "I thought you said this was handled." "We've applied pressure. Professional threats, property damage. Rodriguez has stepped back, but the siblings are resilient. Resilient? Whitman's voice turned dangerously soft. That's a polite way of saying your intimidation tactics failed. He closed the folder deliberately. The zoning board votes in 2 weeks, and the final properties need to be acquired by then. We can't afford complications. I understand, sir, but… No buts. Whitman stood, his height allowing him to look down at Brooks. You assured me these neighborhoods would be destabilized enough to justify the security concerns in the development proposal. Instead, I have 2 ex-military troublemakers gathering evidence against us. Brooks swallowed. What do you want me to do? Whatever is necessary. Whitman turned to gaze out his window at the city below. Our investors have hundreds of millions riding on this development plan. If it fails because of 2 people, there will be consequences for everyone involved. The threat hung in the air, unmistakable. I'll handle it personally, Brooks said. See that you do. Whitman didn't turn around. And Brooks? No mistakes this time. 3 miles away, Maya returned from her physical therapy shift to find her apartment door slightly ajar. She paused, every sense heightened. Drawing her concealed handgun, she pushed the door open with her foot. The destruction inside stole her breath. Furniture overturned, walls spray-painted with slurs and threats. On her living room wall, someone had painted "Race Traitor" in red that dripped like blood. But it was the bedroom that made her stomach clench. Her military service photos had been smashed, her dress uniform shredded on the bed. Across her pillow lay a typed note. Next time, you'll be home. Maya's hand trembled slightly as she called Derek. They hit my place, she said when he answered. It's bad. I'm on my way. Derek replied immediately. Don't touch anything. When he arrived 20 minutes later, Derek's expression darkened as he surveyed the damage. This isn't random vandalism. This is targeted intimidation. They took my laptop, Maya noted, and the flash drive Rodriguez gave us. Derek ran a hand through his hair. They got nothing from me. I've been keeping everything in a safe deposit box. Smart. Maya picked up a shattered frame containing her Ranger graduation photo. This is personal now. It's been personal since they put you in an ambulance, Derek countered. But they're escalating because we're getting close. He lowered his voice. I followed the property records. Westridge has acquired 70% of the targeted properties already. They need 75% to trigger the redevelopment clause. Maya's phone rang. An unknown number. Hello? Ms. Wilson. The voice was unfamiliar, female, cautious. You don't know me, but I work in Senator Whitman's office. We need to talk. 20 minutes later, they sat in a coffee shop across town. The woman, Jessica Chen, a legislative aide, nervously scanned the room every few seconds. I shouldn't be here, she began, hands wrapped tightly around her cup. But what they're doing isn't right. What exactly is Whitman doing? Maya asked. The Westridge project isn't just about property speculation. The development plan includes a private prison facility disguised as a community safety complex. Her voice dropped further. The State Corrections Department signed a guaranteed occupancy contract. They'll pay for 95% capacity, whether the beds are filled or not. Derek leaned forward. Creating racial tensions in these neighborhoods guarantees arrests, which means guaranteed profits, Jessica finished. The whole harassment campaign was designed to increase police presence and justify the facility. Maya felt cold fury building. We need documentation. Proof. That's why I contacted you. Jessica slid a key across the table. Whitman's keeping physical copies of everything in a storage unit. Electronic records can be altered, but he's old school about keeping originals. This key and code will get you in. Why help us? Derek asked, studying her carefully. You're risking your job, maybe worse. Because my brother was arrested at one of those protests, she answered, eyes flashing with suppressed anger. 3 years for assaulting an officer, when video showed he did nothing. He was just in the wrong neighborhood when they needed to fill their arrest quotas. As she left, Maya turned to Derek. This is bigger than we thought. And more dangerous, he added. If Brooks and Whitman are willing to destroy your apartment, they won't stop there. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Rodriguez. Urgent. Brooks just left emergency meeting with Whitman. He's mobilizing tactical team. Be careful. They shared a look of grim determination. Storage unit first, Maya decided. Then we take everything public before they can stop us. Derek nodded. No more playing defense. Rainfall slicked the pavement outside the secure storage facility on the city's outskirts. Maya and Derek arrived at 2 a.m., when even security guards sought shelter from the downpour. Security camera on the main gate, Derek noted, rain dripping from his hood. 2 more covering the access keypad. Rodriguez said he'd handle the cameras, Maya replied. 10-minute loop starts now. They moved with practiced efficiency, using Jessica's key code to access the facility. Unit 342 was located in the back corner. Premium pricing for premium privacy. This is it, Maya whispered, fitting the key into the padlock. Inside, metal filing cabinets lined the walls. Derek swept his flashlight across labeled drawers. Westridge Acquisitions. Police Deployment. Investor Agreements. Jackpot, he breathed. They worked methodically, photographing documents that connected Whitman's family trust to property purchases in destabilized zones. Maya found police directives from Brooks detailing selective enforcement protocols. Most damning were the prison contracts with occupancy guarantees based on projected arrest increases in specific neighborhoods. We've got everything, Maya said, tucking the flash drive into her boot. Let's... Headlights swept across the storage unit's door. Car doors slammed. Company, Derek warned, switching off his flashlight. Probably just security, Maya whispered, though neither believed it. Heavy footsteps approached, multiple sets moving with purpose. Derek gestured toward the back of the unit, where filing cabinets created a narrow hiding space. They slipped behind just as the door rolled open. Check everything, ordered a familiar voice. Chief Brooks. They've been here. Find what they took. 4 figures entered. Brooks and 3 men in tactical gear, faces obscured by balaclavas. Not police officers, private contractors. Sir, one spoke, examining the filing cabinets. Several folders have been disturbed. Brooks cursed. Find them. They can't have gone far. Maya caught Derek's eye in the darkness, a silent plan forming between them. He pointed to himself, then to the left. She nodded, understanding immediately. Derek burst from hiding, driving his shoulder into the nearest man, while Maya simultaneously attacked from the right. The element of surprise gave them momentary advantage as they fought to reach the exit. Maya ducked a wild swing, her ranger training evident in her economy of movement. She drove her knee into her opponent's thigh, collapsing him to one knee before delivering a precise strike to his throat. "Maya! Down!" Derek shouted. She dropped as a metal baton whistled over her head. Derek engaged the second attacker, deflecting a blow and countering with a series of rapid strikes that drove the man backward into filing cabinets. Brooks drew his service weapon. "Enough! Freeze or I shoot!" The momentary distraction was all the third attacker needed. He tackled Maya from behind, driving her into the concrete floor. Pain exploded across her still-healing ribs. She fought through it, twisting to break his grip, but he pressed a forearm against her throat. Across the unit, Derek found himself similarly pinned, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. "I warned you," Brooks said, standing over them. "Some fights aren't worth picking." He gestured to the men. "Take them somewhere quiet. Make sure they understand the consequences of their curiosity." "Chief Brooks!" a new voice called from outside. "Police! Come out with your hands visible." Brooks spun toward the door. "What the—" Officer Rodriguez stood in the doorway, service weapon drawn. Behind him, 6 uniformed officers formed a semicircle, weapons ready. "James!" Brooks sputtered. "What is this?" "This is me remembering my oath," Rodriguez answered, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "Put down your weapon, Chief." "You're making a mistake," Brooks warned. "You know who's behind me." "Yes, I do." Rodriguez stepped forward. "And so does the FBI's Public Corruption Unit. They've been very interested in the evidence we've been gathering." At this revelation, the man restraining Maya hesitated. She seized the opportunity, driving her elbow into his solar plexus and breaking free. Simultaneously, Derek executed a practiced countermove, reversing positions with his attacker. Within seconds, the dynamic had shifted entirely. Brooks found himself isolated as his hired muscle recognized the losing proposition. "This won't stick," Brooks snarled as Rodriguez handcuffed him. "Whitman will have this buried by morning." "I don't think so," Maya said, retrieving the flash drive from her boot. "Everything's here. The property schemes, the prison contracts, your deployment orders targeting specific neighborhoods. Too much for even a senator to bury." As they emerged into the rain-soaked parking lot, police cruisers and an unmarked FBI vehicle formed a perimeter. A tall woman in a federal windbreaker approached. "Agent Monica Diaz, FBI." She extended her hand to Maya. "Officer Rodriguez has told us quite a story. I believe you have evidence we need to see." Maya handed over the flash drive, meeting Rodriguez's gaze over the agent's shoulder. His slight nod conveyed everything: apology, relief, vindication. "Senator Whitman," Derek asked. "Agents are serving a warrant at his office as we speak," Diaz replied. "This conspiracy just lost its protection." For the first time in weeks, Maya felt the knot in her chest begin to loosen. The tide had turned. Dawn broke over the city as Maya and Derek sat in the FBI field office, mugs of cold coffee forgotten on the table between them. For 12 hours they had walked agents through the evidence, connecting dots in a conspiracy that grew more extensive with each revelation. "Senator Whitman's gone dark," Agent Diaz announced, entering the conference room. "His home is empty, and his security detail claims they don't know his location." Maya straightened, wincing as her bruised ribs protested. "What about the protest organizers?" "We've detained Eric Daniels and several others, but the main group seems to have received warning." Diaz's frustration was evident. "Someone tipped them off." "Brooks made calls from the patrol car," Rodriguez added from his position by the window. Though reinstated to active duty, the strain of the past weeks showed in the shadows beneath his eyes. 3 calls before we processed him." Derek studied the evidence board where photos, documents, and timelines covered every inch. "Whitman won't run. Not with the zoning board vote in 3 days. Too much money at stake." "He'll have contingency plans," Maya agreed. "People like him always do." Her phone buzzed. A text from a number she didn't recognize. "They're coming for you. Not over yet. J.C. Jessica Chen, Whitman's aide." "We need to move," Maya said, showing the message to Diaz. "Now!" Diaz's skepticism dissolved when gunfire erupted in the building's lobby. Alarms blared as agents scrambled for defensive positions. 3 armed subjects, tactical gear, lobby level, crackled the security radio. "Multiple officers down." "They're here for the evidence," Derek realized. Diaz grabbed a hard drive from the computer. "This contains everything. We need to secure it." More gunfire, closer now. The attackers were moving up. "Stairwell," Rodriguez directed, drawing his weapon. "Secondary exit through the parking garage." They moved as a unit, Maya and Derek automatically taking point and rear positions. The tactical formation came naturally to them, a product of years in combat zones. "Who are these people?" Diaz asked as they descended the stairs. Private contractors, Maya explained. Probably the same ones working with Brooks. Ex-military or law enforcement hired by Whitman for deniability. A door crashed open 2 floors below. Footsteps pounded upward. Garage is compromised, Derek warned. Alternative exit? Roof, Rodriguez suggested. Police helicopter was scheduled for maintenance check this morning. Might still be there. They reversed direction, climbing instead of descending. Behind them, the footsteps accelerated. "Agent Diaz!" a voice called from below, professionally calm despite the circumstances. "We only want the Wilson siblings and the evidence. Surrender them, and everyone else walks away." "Federal agents!" Diaz shouted back. "Drop your weapons and surrender!" The answer came in another burst of gunfire, chipping concrete near their position. "So much for negotiation," Maya muttered. They reached the roof access as the first attacker appeared on the stairs below. Rodriguez and Diaz returned fire, buying seconds as Derek forced the rusted door. Daylight flooded the stairwell as they emerged onto the rooftop. The promised helicopter sat on its pad, but between them and safety stood Senator Whitman himself, flanked by 2 more armed men. "Impressive," Whitman said, his politician's smile eerily out of place. "You've caused quite a disruption to my schedule." "It's over, Senator," Diaz declared, weapon raised. "The FBI has your files, your contracts, everything. These men can't change that." Whitman shrugged, unperturbed. "Evidence can be discredited. Witnesses can recant, or disappear." He focused on Maya and Derek. "You two have been particularly persistent. Military backgrounds, I'm told. Admirable loyalty to your neighborhood." "This isn't about loyalty," Maya replied, calculating distances, angles, options. "It's about justice." "Justice," Whitman repeated, as if tasting something foreign. "An interesting concept from someone who served a government that sent you to kill strangers in distant countries." His smile hardened. "I simply applied those same principles domestically. Create conflict, exploit resources, profit from the chaos." Derek's voice was cold steel. "We fought to protect people. You terrorized them for real estate profits." Whitman sighed, his patience visibly thinning. "Ideology aside, we have a simple problem. I need that evidence, and you 4 are now liabilities." Behind them, the door burst open as the stairwell attackers arrived. They were surrounded. 3 gunmen at the door, 2 with Whitman, the senator himself likely armed. "Options?" Derek murmured to Maya. She assessed their position with a ranger's eye. Diaz and Rodriguez had standard service weapons. She and Derek were unarmed. The helicopter was 30 yards away, fully fueled according to its gauges. "Cover, then counterattack," she whispered. "Separate their forces. Create confusion." Rodriguez overhead, giving a slight nod. He understood the strategy. Divide and conquer. "Last chance," Whitman called, checking his watch. "The zoning board convenes in 6 hours. I have investors expecting results." Maya caught Derek's eye, a lifetime of sibling communication condensed into a single glance. They had faced worse odds in combat zones. This was just another mission. "Now," she breathed. The rooftop erupted into chaos. Maya launched herself sideways as gunfire erupted, rolling behind an air conditioning unit for cover. Simultaneously, Derek grabbed Agent Diaz, pulling her behind a ventilation shaft as bullets sparked off metal. "Rodriguez, suppressive fire left," Maya called out. The officer responded instantly, laying down cover fire toward Whitman's position, forcing the senator and his men to scatter for protection. "I'll circle right," Derek shouted to Maya. "Create crossfire." Maya nodded, understanding the tactic without elaboration. They had executed similar maneuvers in combat zones across the world. Whitman's voice carried across the rooftop. "This is pointless. You're outnumbered and outgunned." "But not outsmarted," Maya muttered. She signaled to Rodriguez, who understood immediately. He fired 3 rapid shots at the stairwell position, then ducked as return fire peppered his location. The distraction allowed Maya to sprint to a new position, closer to the helicopter. From his vantage point, Derek saw one of Whitman's men moving to flank Rodriguez. He picked up a discarded piece of pipe and hurled it with precision, striking the gunman's hand. The man's weapon clattered across the rooftop as Diaz seized the opportunity, tackling him to the ground. Senator Whitman watched his careful plan disintegrating. These weren't ordinary civilians. The Wilson siblings moved with military precision, turning his numerical advantage into a liability. He reached inside his suit jacket, drawing his own pistol. "Enough games!" he shouted, advancing toward the helicopter where the hard drive was secured. "This ends now!" Maya intercepted him, emerging from behind a fuel tank. "You're right about that." Whitman swung his weapon toward her, but years of combat training had honed Maya's reflexes. She closed the distance before he could fire, deflecting his arm upward. The gun discharged harmlessly into the sky as they grappled. "You think you're heroes?" Whitman snarled, his politician's mask slipping completely. "You're nobodies. I have connections you can't imagine." Maya locked his wrist, applying precise pressure. "I don't care who you know. This ends today." Across the rooftop, Derek engaged the remaining stairwell gunmen. One rushed him, thinking the unarmed man an easy target. Derek sidestepped, using the attacker's momentum against him, a technique perfected in SEAL training. The man stumbled forward, off balance, as Derek delivered a precise strike to the back of his neck. The gunman crumpled unconscious. "Drop it!" Rodriguez commanded the final attacker, who hesitated, then let his weapon fall. Whitman watched his advantage evaporate. With surprising strength born of desperation, he broke Maya's grip and shoved her backward. She stumbled, her injured ribs screaming in protest, as Whitman dashed for the helicopter. "He's going for the evidence," Diaz shouted, struggling to handcuff her subdued opponent. Maya recovered, pursuing Whitman across the open rooftop. The senator reached the helicopter, yanking open the door. His hand closed around the hard drive secured in the cockpit. "It's over," he declared, holding the drive triumphantly. "Without this, you have nothing but accusations." "We have copies," Maya bluffed, slowly circling toward him. Doubt flickered across Whitman's face. "You're lying." "Multiple copies," she continued, maintaining eye contact. "One's already with national media. Another with the Justice Department." "Impossible," he spat, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. "Brooks assured me everything was contained." Maya smiled coldly. "Brooks isn't the mastermind he thinks he is. Neither are you." Rage contorted Whitman's features. He pointed his gun directly at Maya's chest. "I won't go down for this. Do you understand what I've built? The power I wield?" "I understand exactly who you are," Maya replied, her voice steady despite the weapon aimed at her heart. "A coward who sends others to fight his battles." Derek's voice came from behind Whitman. "Drop the gun, Senator." Whitman spun, finding Derek blocking his escape route. "Back off or I shoot her." "You won't get the chance," Derek stated with absolute certainty. For a crucial second, Whitman's attention divided between the siblings. Maya seized the opening, executing a disarming technique with fluid precision. The gun clattered to the ground as she forced Whitman face down, securing his arm behind his back. "Thomas Whitman," Agent Diaz announced, approaching with handcuffs. "You're under arrest for conspiracy, corruption, and attempted murder of federal agents." "This is absurd!" Whitman struggled against Maya's hold. "I'm a United States Senator." "Not for long," Rodriguez added, securing the hard drive. As federal agents flooded the rooftop, Maya finally released the breath she'd been holding. She met Derek's eyes across the helicopter landing pad, sharing a moment of silent understanding. They had faced impossible odds and prevailed, just as they had overseas, just as they had throughout their lives together. Diaz approached them as Whitman was led away, still protesting his innocence and threatening retribution. "That was impressive," she admitted. "Where did you learn to operate like that?" "Uncle Sam's finishing school," Derek replied with a tired smile. Maya watched Whitman disappear through the roof access door, his power and influence stripped away, revealing just a man, corrupt and ordinary. "Is it really over?" she asked quietly. "The hard part is," Diaz confirmed. "Now comes the justice part." For the first time in weeks, Maya allowed herself to feel the full weight of their victory, not just for themselves, but for their neighborhood, for Jessica's imprisoned brother, for every person targeted by Whitman's schemes. 3 months later, Maya stood at the corner of Malcolm and Pine, watching neighborhood children play basketball on the recently renovated court. The autumn sun cast long shadows as afternoon transitioned to evening. But unlike before, families strolled without fear, comfortable in their reclaimed community. "Still hard to believe," Derek said, joining her at the intersection where everything had begun. From harassment to federal indictments in less than 6 months. Maya nodded, surveying the transformation. Construction crews worked on the legitimate community center across the street, the real Westridge project, now under community oversight. "Any word on your status?" she asked. Derek shrugged, his expression lighter than it had been in months. "Command reviewed everything. Given the circumstances, they've classified my absence as emergency community service. No formal reprimand. Emergency community service," Maya repeated with a smile. "That's one way to describe taking down a corrupt senator." They walked toward the community gathering forming in the park. Neighbors carried folding chairs and covered dishes, setting up for the evening's celebration. "Officer Rodriguez called," Maya mentioned. "The department's internal affairs investigation is complete. 7 officers dismissed, including Peterson and Diaz. And Brooks? Cooperating with federal prosecutors for a reduced sentence. Apparently, he had recordings of his own. Insurance against Whitman." Derek chuckled. "Honor among thieves." They approached the gathering, where James Rodriguez stood with his wife and teenage son. No longer isolated within the department, Rodriguez had been promoted to lead a new community relations unit. "The guests of honor arrive," he called out, waving them over. Maya felt a momentary discomfort with the attention. "We're not heroes, James. We just did what needed doing." "Tell that to them," Rodriguez said quietly, gesturing to the assembled neighbors, faces that had once shown fear now reflecting pride and determination. Mrs. Jackson, the elderly woman who had first warned Maya about the protesters, approached with a reporter from the city newspaper. "Here they are," she announced, "the ones who stood up when nobody else would." The reporter extended her hand. "I'm covering the sentencing tomorrow. Any comment on Whitman facing 20 years? Justice works when people demand it," Maya answered simply. As the reporter moved on, Derek nudged his sister. "Look who's here!" Jessica Chen approached hesitantly, accompanied by a young man who shared her features, her brother, recently released as part of the review of cases connected to the corruption scandal. "We wanted to thank you," Jessica said. "Marcus is home because of what you did." Marcus extended his hand. 3 years of my life gone because I was in the wrong place. But at least I got some back." The gratitude in his eyes affected Maya more deeply than any official commendation. This was why they had fought, not for recognition, but for people like Marcus. As evening settled over the gathering, community leaders unveiled a plaque commemorating what the media had dubbed the Oakwood Heights Stand, the moment when systematic intimidation had been confronted and defeated. Maya found a quiet moment to step away, needing space from the celebration. She still carried the weight of the confrontation, the violence, the close calls. Combat had taught her that victories always carried costs. Derek found her sitting on a park bench, watching fireflies emerge in the deepening twilight. "Having second thoughts?" he asked, joining her. "Not about what we did," she clarified. "Just processing it all. That's why I brought this." He handed her a letter bearing military insignia. "Came yesterday." Maya opened it, scanning the official language with growing surprise. "They're offering me a position at the VA's PTSD treatment center, leading the community outreach program? Who better?" Derek smiled. "You understand both sides, military and civilian, combat and healing." For the first time in months, Maya felt the future opening rather than narrowing. The neighborhood around them hummed with renewed life, children laughing, music playing, conversations flowing freely without the undercurrent of fear that had pervaded before. Rodriguez approached with his son Miguel, now wearing the uniform of a police cadet. "Maya, Derek, Miguel has something he wants to say." The young man straightened respectfully. "I just wanted to tell you both that you're why I still want to be an officer, to see what real courage looks like, what justice should be." As they rejoined the celebration, Maya noticed how the intersection of Malcolm and Pine had transformed. Once a flashpoint of hatred and division, it now served as a gathering place, a symbol of community resilience. Later, as residents shared stories and broke bread together, an elderly man who had lived in Oakwood Heights for 60 years raised his glass. "To neighbors who become family," he toasted. "And to remembering that justice isn't just a word. It's something we build together, day by day." Maya caught Derek's eye across the gathering, a lifetime of understanding passing between them. They had carried the weight of war home from foreign battlefields, only to find another kind of battle waiting. But this victory felt different. Not destruction, but creation. Not division, but unity. As darkness fell completely, the community illuminated the park with strings of lights that pushed back the shadows, much like Maya and Derek had pushed back against forces that had sought to divide their neighborhood. The battle was over. Healing had begun. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please like the video and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have handpicked 2 stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day.